everyone to the Bitcoin Business Bureau. As always, I'm your host, Litecoin Leader. Today, we're talking about a special coin, another oldie but goodie. But this coin has been around for several years. Many people have been tracking it for a long, long time. It's been very controversial. No, it's not XRP. It's not XLM even. But it's a coin that's very hard to acquire, and it might be one of the hardest coins to acquire in all cryptocurrency. We've had other people that have been tracking it and saying that it could quite possibly be at some point in the future one-to-one with the value of Bitcoin. And there's another hint. So let's talk about this coin. Let's talk about its checkered past. Let's talk about who is involved with it and what everything has to say about it. And let's dive into all the information on this particular coin and see where it is on the board.
Just a quick reminder that nothing in this video is considered financial advice. I am not your financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Seek out your own advice and do your own diligence, do your own research. So once again, we start with a look at the ALTCOINopoly board. We're going to focus on the right side of the board, which is zone 4. As I mentioned earlier in a few other videos I've done on the right side of the board, we've been spending a lot of time here. Several pieces have been announced on this side of the board. Hopefully you're keeping track. But zone 4 is where we're going to spend some time here, and zone 4 is the section of the board what houses our top tier coins. So the top tier coins, we mentioned a particularly very dominant coin recently this week. We mentioned some of the other values on the space, but today's coin is a coin. It's an oldie but a goodie. It's been around for a while. Those of you who've been in the cryptocurrency space have probably heard of this several times before. Hasn't been mentioned too much of late, but it's starting to get a little bit more traction. And it's a coin what some people believe, in some circles, could have a huge upside. And that's the kind of coins that we're looking for. So that coin today is a coin abbreviated as VERI. It's called Veritasium. V-E-R-I-T-A-S-E-U-M, which is Latin, I believe, for truth. And we will get into the history of the coin, why it deserves a spot on the board, especially this high on the board, what the upside entails, what it does, what's attempting to do, and what the future may hold for a coin that involved both the SEC and a very prominent person in the crypto space. So we have to start at the beginning for Veritasium. Veritasium is an older coin, started I believe in 2013 or 2014 by Reggie Middleton. We'll talk about him in a moment. But Veritasium is a word that comes from Latin. It's a combination of truth or element of truth. And there was a play on the spelling to make it EUM instead of IUM, just to make it a little bit different. But you've heard of Project Veritas. That's a different entity altogether. But that's the same origin, truth. So Veritasium, their mission is to tokenize pretty much everything and to make it available through a marketplace, peer-to-peer marketplace for everyone. What that does is that competes with every existing marketplace that's out there. The NASDAQ, all the stock exchanges, all the crypto exchanges. This is the reason why it's very hard to obtain Veritasium, because most exchanges don't even want to associate themselves with making Veritasium available. Currently, the price is roughly $20. That has fluctuated a lot since the beginning of the year, but there's been news since December, January about Veritasium and DeFi, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But there's been renewed interest in Veritasium in the last 6 months because a lot's going on in the world, and Veritasium could be at the center of it. So Veritasium is currently ranked number 480 in the marketplace. There's 100 million coins in existence, but only 2 million, roughly, is a circulating supply. The reason is because of the SEC and what they did several years ago, where they confiscated 98% of the circulating supply. Again, we'll talk about that in a moment. So it's one of the hardest coins to obtain. The places to obtain it, if I jump over in CoinGecko to the places where you can get it, here's the marketplaces. You have Uniswap, which is probably the best way to get it if you can find it. It's not always available, but you can see the 24-hour volume. Roughly 1,000 coins have exchanged hands on Uniswap for Veritasium and Ethereum. Not a lot of coins. Some of them have, Mercatox has both the Ethereum and the Bitcoin pair. Again, not many coins there, maybe 60 to 70 a day. Fork Delta would be second place, and then Uniswap version 3. Again, grand total, you're looking at 30,000 of volume on a $20 coin. That's 1,500 coins a day maximum. Not only is it hard to get, but there's not many people out there selling it. So Veritasium's website, which is veritas.veritasium.com, you can find more about Reggie Middleton. Reggie Middleton is actually a very public figure for the crypto space. He puts out lots of videos. He's on Twitter a lot. He describes himself as a disruptor in chief. He knows he's competing against the marketplaces. He understands what he's doing, but he is a patented founder of DeFi. He's the creator and inventor of decentralized finance. So that's his self-described description. Reggie is not an egotist by any means, but he's very adamant in his convictions. And he has a patent now on DeFi. The patent was granted, I think, last year. That's part of the reason why there's been more interest in Veritasium. So the impact of this patent will be a revolution in how financial markets are transacted. Between this and the blockchain, the truth will come out, which means the big words like rehypothecation and fractional banking, those things will likely be going away, which scares the bejesus out of the marketplaces that are out there, the banks, the NASDAQs, the SEC. All of them are very concerned because the number of shares that are traded in these, even the crypto exchanges, is not true to how many coins really exist. You see in, well, let me pull this up for a second. Hold on one second. Let's go to CoinMarketCap for a moment. So, if I go down to, I know Litecoin will tell me this one. So here's the market cap. Here's the 24-hour volume. If I go to Litecoin, I know Litecoin will display this pretty well. Litecoin's market cap is roughly $12 billion. The 24-hour volume is allegedly $2.3 billion. That is about 20% of all Litecoin exchanges hands in the last 24 hours. That's highly unlikely. What that really reflects is that that's how many are listed coins or rehypothecated coins that exchanges are saying that exist but really aren't there. The exchanges make money by trades. They want more and more volume of trades. So the more volume that they can push through the marketplace, such as Binance here. Binance has a market cap of almost 10 trillion, and a third of it traded hands in the last 24 hours. Again, that's probably not true. So, I mean, you look at a coin like Theta, where 9 billion in less than 1 billion exchanged hands. That seems to be a little bit more realistic. Same with Stellar. The numbers that some of the exchanges that they push through, it's rehypothecated, which is just a fancy word of saying they're trading more coins than exist. So for Litecoin, there may be 100 to 1, for example. I don't know what the number is. I'm just guessing. Let's just say it's 10 or 20 to 1. Let's say the real volume should be more like 235 million versus, or maybe even 1 million. It shouldn't be more than 10%, more than likely. Because most of the coins, you see Chainlink is about 1 billion compared to a 12 billion market cap, less than 10%. That seems to be a more typical number, a more pragmatic number, whereas Binance and Litecoin are over-leveraged and overextended in what the volume allegedly represents. And that's probably the exchanges masking the fact that they're overinflating the liquidity to get more volume of trades. So how do you avoid this in crypto? How do you avoid this in the NASDAQ or where they're selling more shares than exist on stocks? It happens in the commodities a lot. That's the whole derivative marketplace as well. I've heard one expert say that for every ounce of gold, 62,000 contracts are sold. So that means 62,000 to 1 is the number of dollars invested in gold versus how much gold really exists. Which means that even if 1%, that would be 620 people, if they went in and try to get their gold, they couldn't, because only 1 out of 620,000, 62,000 really gets the gold. That's why it's so important, if you're investing in certain things, to have them in your own possession. Not your keys, not your coins. Get your coins in your own wallet. Get your silver or gold in your own possession. These things, the possession is 9/10 of the law, and probably these days even higher than that. So to combat this problem, that's what Reggie Middleton and Veritasium is doing. So to combat this problem, Reggie and Veritasium filed their patent, and that patent was granted in the DeFi space and also for this trust transfer. So now Veritasium not only can create a market space like they have on their veritas.veritasium.com and the Vidare marketplace that they've created, but they can also replace these other marketplaces that exist out there where all this fractional banking and rehypothecation exist. So you can actually have true exchanges between people. With what is happening in the DeFi space and also in the Uniswap and PancakeSwap and all these other swap sites, these decentralized exchanges, these DEXs, that is creating the peer-to-peer marketplace that Reggie postulated, envisioned, saw about to happen, where people can trade to one another and not need an exchange. They don't need that third party. So we don't need that third party which is going to create these issues, and Veritasium can be the source of truth. I went back digging through Veritasium, and I found this coin's been around for a long time. I know that Bix Weir used to give out a share of Veritasium for new subscribers. And he even postulated that it was basically a lottery ticket. Back in the day of 2018, Veritasium was pushing $100. The all-time high of Veritasium was over $400. But it since crashed with the SEC issues, which I'll talk about in a moment. But Veritasium is pretty much, even Bix describes it as a lottery ticket. It is an asymmetric market, meaning that the upside is immense. Cliff High has put out a report in his Alta reports once upon a time said that he envisions that Veritasium could be on par in value with Bitcoin. It was unclear if that meant market cap or price, but either way, that's pretty big. So for the current price of roughly $20 of Veritasium, to potentially get something, an asset that could be worth 1,000 times more or higher, that is probably a risk that some educated investors, not financial advice, might want to take or gamble on to get, a handful of shares and see what happens. It's worth, a couple $100 or more if you're, depending on how much you are willing to risk. Again, it could all go to zero, but the upside is pretty high. And Veritasium is a product that's been out there for years, and Reggie Middleton is not going away. So I like the project. I think it's got a lot of upside, and I think it's well worth a space on the board. And let's dig into the charts in a little different manner next. So before we delve into the charts, and we need to look at Veritasium in a different way, we need to talk about what happened with the SEC. And Reggie Middleton was working with the SEC closely to try to be compliant as best he could. Veritasium had an ICO in 2017 where 51% of the coins, which is 51 million, were put out as an ICO. Unfortunately, not many people bought them. They were $2 a share. I mean, it was $2 a coin, and not many people bought them. So Reggie and Veritasium wound up getting a lot of the coins back. So this did not sit well with the SEC for many reasons, and this was a good enough excuse for them for prosecuting Reggie and Veritasium. So they decided to go after them, and not only did Reggie have to settle the SEC, pay almost $10 million to them, and really decimate his company because he had to give up 98 million of his 100 million coins. So the SEC is sitting on 98 million Veritasium coins right now, and no one quite understands what the fate is of those coins. They have not been burned. They have not been reissued. They exist, and I guess the SEC has a wallet with a whole lot of Veritasium in it. So the speculation is that if there's going to be replacement markets, that the SEC and or the United States would go to Reggie and say, look, let's start a new marketplace based on Veritasium, which you've already proven as a concept and works. Let's replace the current marketplaces, which are rehypothecated and over-leveraged and lacks truth, and use your exchange. Now, that's speculation. That is not facts at all. That is hypothesis. But that is part of the hypothesis that leads to the realistic expectation that if that were to happen, that's how Veritasium could be worth an immense amount of dollars per coin. So That is really the upside of Veritasium, not so much the chart, not so much looking at the technical analysis. This is a gut call, intelligent lottery ticket, meaning that there's maybe a 1% chance that this happens. But the 1% chance means 1,000x rewards. So upside still outpaces the downside for a 1% gamble. Now, not a gamble, not financial advice. Do not take my opinion as financial advice whatsoever. I am just giving you information on a coin that is off the radar, but for savvy investors that are out there and looking for a coin that has a lot of upside in a tumultuous financial world that we live in today, Veritasium could see a very useful use case going forward. Now, I will look at the charts briefly just to give you an idea where it once was. You can see how active this coin was in July 17 all the way to July 19. It was immense. And at the big run-up, Veritasium was $460. Since then, it's really been quiet, except for the last 6 months, which I'll zoom into. And we can see that the volume really picked up after the news came out that Reggie got the patent and pretty much owns all of DeFi. And he is looking at how to leverage that intellectual property that he was given that patent for against everything else that's going on in DeFi. So there could also be the possibility that everything in the DeFi space, which everyone believes is going to grow immensely, is going to owe a fee of some kind to Veritasium. So there's another way that Veritasium could see a ton of value going up, and this is why Veritasium went from $2 to $3 to $4 range back in January up to the $20 range, and has been dancing around those numbers in the $15 to $20 range ever since. There was a big buy apparently yesterday, where somebody got wind of this and said, I'm going to buy a whole bunch, and got it shot up to $37. But for the most part, it's around $20 if you can get it. So I don't want to really delve too far into the charting, because there's really nothing to gain from charting this one. This is really a gut feel and upside versus downside asymmetric market risk. So with that being said, let's draw our conclusions on Veritasium.
So that is a very good synopsis, I hope, of Veritasium. Veritasium is a coin that's hard to get. I believe there's only a few different exchanges you can get it on. Again, most exchanges don't even like it. That's why it's hard to get. It has a checkered past because of the litigation of the SEC. Reggie Milton continues to work, making amazing strides with the project, both predominantly internationally. I think he's pretty much given up on the US because of the SEC. But it's got an interesting future, and there's still 98 million coins out there that the SEC has control of for whatever reason, but there's only 2 million coins available in the marketplace for most other investors to go get. Not financial advice, but that makes it very hard to acquire, considering that it's short supply, and also very few exchanges that even allow for you to get it. The last time I saw it was, I think Uniswap had it, but I think 1inch might have it, Mercatox, Fork Delta. It's really hard to get, but you can store it. I will tell you this, you can store it in your Exodus wallet. So that feature is there. It's just a matter of getting the coin first. So interesting path going forwards. It is perfect example of asymmetric markets. It's the upside with Cliff High saying that it could possibly someday 1-to-1 with Bitcoin. That puts it at 60,000 potentially, considering where it was this year for Bitcoin, versus $20 to $25 to $30 wherever Veritasium is today. It's certainly below $50 last I checked. It was as low as $5 or less earlier this year in 2021. But as more people are starting to remember about this coin and look for it, it's getting a little bit harder to get even further, and the price is going up. So if you can get your hands on a few, not financial advice, but it may be worth a lottery ticket as some perceive it, and as Bix Weir even marketed it when he was giving out one for members to his site. So lots to think about for Veritasium. There could be a strong use case going forward as we get away from the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange and all the other different marketplaces that are out there with rehypothecation and marginal lending and fractional lending. Veritasium brings truth to the marketplace, which is what we really need going forward in both DeFi and financial markets going forward. So lots to think about. With all that said, I'm going to close the drawer on the bureau, and I'll see you next time.